Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages, from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track.
Promoting a track takes heart, and now showing appreciation can be just as easy. With send-out cards, you can thank sponsors, volunteers, drivers, and fans with personalized digital cards sent right from your phone or laptop. Add a photo, write a message, and hit send. It's that simple. Unlimited sends for just $10 a month. Go to sendoutcards.com/53240. That's sendoutcards.com/53240, because gratitude builds great tracks. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And I have someone that I think most of you are going to recognize on the show today. But if not, we're going to learn a lot about Sabre Cook and how she got from being a little girl to where she is now, a star in racing. She's an amazing young woman, and I can't wait, Sabre, for you to tell us first more about yourself so we can kind of get to know you better, and we'll go from there.
No, I'm super happy to be here. Thank you so much, Melinda. It's great to catch up with you again. For those of you that don't know me, I am a U.S. race car driver and mechanical engineer. I'm currently based in Indianapolis, Indiana, and racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America Series.
Yeah. And do you have pets, or you live alone, your family? What do you want to share any of that?
Yeah, I have a cat. I grew up a dog person. Never thought I'd own a cat, but we ended up adopting one last year, and she is amazing. So I'm a cat and a dog person. I guess I'm just an animal person, and okay. I live here with technically he's my husband now. I feel like that's such a new thing to say, but yeah. So. My husband is Alex Vetti. He proposed in December of last year, and we've been together for, 5.5 years now, at least. He is a race engineer, motorsports engineer, and he works in Indy Next for HMD Motorsports.
Okay.
So we are definitely in the same field, which helps a lot.
It does, because it helps you both understand that, for one thing, there may be late nights or travel and things, and every spouse doesn't do that. And so it's sometimes hard for them to understand that that's part of the job, and you can't always plan very far ahead because things change. And so it's good to have someone who understands all that, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, it would be hard otherwise.
Exactly. So, Sabre, tell me, how did you get into racing? And, tell me who influenced you, who introduced you to motorsports?
Well, I feel like a lot of people, I had a pretty cool dad that he used to race motocross and supercross professionally. And he and my mom did not want me racing motorcycles, which is fair enough. I thank them for it now. I have a lot less broken bones than I probably would have otherwise.
Right.
So when I was just before I was 8 years old, my dad got us go-karts, our own go-karts. And I went out and drove myself. But before that, We have photos of me sitting on my dad's motorcycle, like at 3 months old. You know, me and my brother were obsessed with his gas bikes that he used to keep in the garage. So we go sit on them and make noises. And I actually rode a motorcycle before I ever drove a go-kart. And my dad used to have a shifter cart, him and my grandpa, and they would set up a cone track in a big parking lot in my hometown in Colorado. And they'd put us on his lap, and he'd drive us around the track, obviously very slow. But so it was pretty much immediately part of my life from as soon as I was born. I was actually even born on Supercross Sunday.
Oh.
So my parents, they used to host Supercross races in Grand Junction, Colorado. And my mom, she went into labor the morning of the Supercross race, and she went to the hospital instead of going to the track. So I was literally born into racing.
Yeah, you certainly were. That's a great story for sure. So you grew up in Colorado.
Yes.
And there's pretty good racing in Colorado. So what about go-karts? Is that where you started? And then where did you go after that?
Yeah, so I started in 50cc Comer go-karts, little baby carts. And then I progressed into, you know, all the normal stages. I went to like mini max, then I went in junior, senior. I went into shifter carts, pro shifter carts, and I karted for a really long time, just because I didn't have the sponsorship and funding to go into car racing. But I really look back on my karting years with a lot of fondness. I had really great experiences. It really kind of honed me as a person and as a racer, and had a lot of success. I have 14 championships in the end by the time I moved to cars. So it was a really great experience. It took me all over the world. So I feel very fortunate for my time in karting, and I really, really enjoy it. And then eventually, when I was going to school to get my mechanical engineering degree, and I graduated in 2017, and simultaneously also did my first car race because I had a sponsor who had come out to watch me race a go-kart, and he was like, let's put you in a car. So he put me in one of his race cars in Summit Point in 2017 in an SCCA race, and that was the start of it. And then it just took off from there. I worked really hard to raise sponsorship to do a few USF 2000 races, a few USF 4 races. And then I did I did W Series for 3 years in the F3 cars, did Indy Pro 2000 for a couple races, did a one-off MX5 race, did some racing on the Nordschleife in the VLN races and or the NLS races. And then I did a one-off Porsche Sprint Challenge race and became the first female to podium in Sprint Challenge. And honestly, I did a TCR race with Brian Herta once. Like whatever came into my field of opportunity, I was just going to take it and run with it and see how I could make it happen. So I've done a lot of varied things, I guess. But I definitely recently found a home in Porsche Carrera Cup North America, where actually the first full season I've done in professional car racing was here in the United States, was in Porsche Carrera Cup North America, whereas I'd only done a few one-off races here and there in like the Road to Indy series. So really been a great ground for me to grow myself as a driver, as a brand, and with my sponsorships.
You know, and I love hearing all the different things you did. And do you know there's a professional race car driver that kind of reminds me of on the male side. Do you have any thoughts who that might be?
I mean, are you talking about like Tony Stewart?
I'm thinking of Kyle Larson.
Oh, yeah.
He just, and granted, he didn't have a good weekend last weekend, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it mattered to him that he didn't win. I get that. But the fact that he's willing to put himself in a situation where he is definitely not experienced at all, and he still wants to try it, and he wasn't afraid to do that, and look at all the different kinds of things that he does. That's what you did. If somebody said, hey, do you want to try this car? Sure. Do you want to try this car? Sure. Because all of those things made you into the driver you are today.
Yes.
And there's things you learn from each of those kinds of cars or karts that you wouldn't know about. And so now when you're in the Porsche series, you're like, oh, this drives kind of like this, or I have to take corners like this. And I think that is a well-rounded driving experience. What do you think about that?
I think it definitely has its benefits. It allows me to reference a varied amount of experience and maybe collect information and tools that I otherwise wouldn't have had if I didn't have those experiences. But I do think I would have benefited sometimes more from having a little bit more seat time and consistency in certain series. I think that would have been very beneficial, I think, for development and growth. But beggars can't be choosers.
No.
So I'm happy to have the experience regardless. And I think it's sometimes I've been thrown to the wolves, but I've always landed on my feet and learned as much as I can and taken it into the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I get that if you had your mindset on, IndyCar or some other series, then that's what you really wanted to strive for. But everybody doesn't have those opportunities. And so you have to make the best of, like you said, you made the best of whatever was given to you or shared with you. And to me, that says a lot about being flexible and being able to be like, okay, I'm going to try this, and to really not be worried about the outcome so much as taking it as an opportunity.
Well, I mean, as a driver, you always want to win. So
sure, of course you do.
It's always there.
I know.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I had the opportunities that I've had so far, and even though maybe it wasn't where my wildest dreams, you always have big goals when you're young and you're like, I want to race an Indy car. But the thing is, most people don't even get the chance to race a car, let alone do the things that I have been able to do. So I am really grateful for what I've been able to do. But always as a racing driver and as a competitor, I'm always pushing for more.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. So what is it about motorsports that kept you involved? There was probably a lot of days over the last however many years that you could have just easily given up and said, I just can't do this anymore. What kept you going?
I would say several things. The main things that come to mind is I mentioned my dad. He was a great role model for me. And I was really lucky to have parents that set the example when I was growing up that, you don't quit. You keep working hard, you try to figure it out. And if you say you're going to do something, you follow through on it. So that was a great sort of character set to grow up with. But also since I can remember, I have maybe unusually chosen things because they are hard. And I remember when I was deciding, where do I want to go to school, like go to university? I remember choosing the school that I went to because it was hard. And I wanted to go to a hard school that was going to challenge me and then make me into a better human. And I realized after growing up and reflecting over the last several years, I started to get really clear on, what do I really value for myself as a person, and what drives me, what is my why. Mm-hmm. And for me, it is being the best that I can be. And I think the reason why I've stuck with racing so long and why I love it so much is because racing challenges me in so many varied areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, business-wise, technically. Like there's so many areas that go into being a great motorsports driver that I think I wouldn't have gotten that experience with a lot of other things. So I think that's why I love it, and that's why I've stuck with it, is because it challenges me and it makes me feel like I'm pushing to be the best version of myself, which is like my most optimum and best version of me, which is like what I feel like I live for as a human.
Yeah, you didn't settle. You didn't settle for being okay or good. You wanted to be the best that you could be. And that's pretty admirable, because honestly, there's a lot of days, no matter what you're doing in life, that it just seems like I just can't do this anymore. And you just accept where you are instead of pushing yourself to keep going. So what do you think, motorsports has to have made you the woman you are today? Um, what is that maybe set you apart then had you not been in motorsports? What are some of the things that you can say, I wouldn't be this way if it wasn't for being involved in motorsports?
Ooh. If I wasn't involved in motorsports, I feel like I wouldn't have a perspective on certain projects or challenges that has a large perspective, because I feel like with obviously with my engineering, but with being a driver, and then being a driver who, you have to become an entrepreneur to get the sponsorships and the partnerships and build your brand to then be able to afford to go racing.
Right.
So without all that, without racing, I definitely wouldn't be as, I don't even know the word for it. It's almost just like varied in my perspective when I approach a challenge, or something that comes to mind as well is Cindy Sisson, right? Like I'll know Cindy, and if you don't, like you probably will soon, because she's connected to everybody. And I just remember talking to her one day where she was saying, she has a network, right? And it's all about like connecting people and how she can help connect people together. And then once I started approaching racing and my business and sponsorships like that, realizing that it's basically like this giant chessboard or puzzle piece, and you have all the right pieces. You just have to figure out how to put them close together in the most optimal way. And I feel like if I wasn't involved in racing and I didn't have to see all the puzzle pieces of so many different areas, I wouldn't have the same perspective that I do.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, because, that there are so many pieces that make a successful person as far as racing. And it is, your brand, how you talk, how you interview, how, what kind of a person you are. Are you outgoing? Do you have a good personality? Are you able to make good connections? All those things don't sound like they have anything to do with how you drive a car, but they do. They all intermix with how fast I can go, how technical I am, how much I know about the car. Because you have to know how to tell your crew chief what the car's doing. So there's so many things that people don't realize go into being a successful race car driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you said, whether you're an extrovert or an introvert, I'm definitely introverted. And so without racing and having to, force myself to be in media situations, be in the limelight and talk, give speeches and be, in that public eye, I would definitely be way more introverted, and I wouldn't have challenged myself to be comfortable with being in that public eye. So that is also something that racing has given me.
Yeah, I would have never thought you were introverted.
Oh,
just
yeah.
from
100%.
just from being around, what little really I have been around you, I would have never thought that. And from following you through social media and that, you seem very comfortable with all that.
Social media, like total transparency, I do not love it. And it has been one of the hardest things for me to do, to put my life out there and just be, all like bearing all of yourself on the internet it's a scary thing to do.
It is.
And yeah, it's been one of the hardest things that I've had to learn and become comfortable with.
Well, and the thing is, if we're really transparent, I always think that the people who only share the good things that happen are not giving the real picture. And so I think when you're able to share, hey, I had a bad day at the racetrack. I had a bad day as a mom. I yelled at my kids, whatever it might be. If you're not willing to share, and you don't have to do gory details, but you have to be able to share that, hey, my life's not perfect either, because there's people that'll start following you, especially younger ones that aren't able to, figure out that this is not the whole picture. Yeah. And so I talk to a lot of girls that social media, while they love being a part of it, they don't necessarily want to be on it themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have many friends that don't even have Instagram, social media profiles, and sometimes I am envious. But I think we often forget what a powerful tool social media can be, and that it can be inspirational. It can connect people. It can share stories.
Yeah.
So trying to look at it from a positive light
Right.
and see all the good that you can do has definitely helped me open up a bit more with the social media.
Yeah. And, as when you're in motorsports and you're looking for partnerships, they're looking at social media because they want to see what kind of a presence you have, how you would represent their brands. And so you're kind of forced to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the first desires of deliverables that partners usually want, or it's one of the first things that they pick up on. They're like, well, what about social media? Like that is instantly one of the first conversation pieces that happens when you are talking to a new potential sponsor. And I've had several of my partners that started out as social media deliverables only, and then they grew into larger partnerships. But unfortunately, it is part of the
It
sponsorship
is.
experience.
Yeah, it is. So tell me a little bit about the series that you're racing. Like, how often do you race? What tracks do you go to? Tell me about your car. What's it, what kind of car is it? What number are you? All the things.
All the things. So what I race in is Porsche Carrera Cup North America, and it is all Porsche GT3 Cup race cars. So we race the 992, which is the latest version of the GT3 Cup race car. And they're all exactly the same car on the track. The only differences is the driver. So like what age you are. So whether you're in Pro-Am, or Masters is only dependent on your age. Unless you're a pro driver that has been pro for a long time. And maybe if you're over that, I think it's 35 or 40, you can elect to still race in pro. So that's kind of how the classes are categorized. You do have to earn your license by either going maybe through Sprint Challenge or other things to get racing experience to be approved to race in the series. And so Porsche Carrera Cup is like a global platform that Porsche uses in their motorsports ladder that's considered like that is their breeding ground for their factory drivers. Like if you are successful in a Carrera Cup program, you will 99% of the time eventually be taken into a factory program with Porsche or with another manufacturer. And there's like Carrera Cups all over the world. So France, UK, Germany, Italian, like there's so many different Carrera Cups, and it's considered like kind of one of the top levels of the GT3 feeder series into endurance racing.
Okay. And so let's say that you are now one of those drivers. So you would race all over the world.
So in Porsche Carrera Cup North America, we race just in North America. So US and Canada is where we race. We race on F1 weekends and IMSA weekends. So we are on 3 of the F1 weekends, which is Miami, Montreal, and COTA. And then the rest we race alongside IMSA. So that's Sebring, Road Atlanta, Road America, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen. And we race 40 minutes plus 1 lap 2 times during the weekend. So we have usually practice 1, practice 2, qualifying, and then race 1, race 2.
Okay. And then, so if you have 2 different races, do they kind of combine those at the end so that if you win one and you get third in the other, or each race is really a separate race?
Each race is really it's separate race. You earn points per race, and the way that you are gridded for race 1 is fastest lap in qualifying, and then race 2 is your second fastest lap.
Okay. All right. And what's your car number?
37.
Now, did you choose that?
Yes, I did.
And why did you choose 37?
So when I first started, when I first drove a go-kart, my first go-kart number was 3. And my dad, when he used to race, his national number in motocross was 31. And then the next go-kart I had was 8. So a lot of times in karting, my favorite number is 317. And if you add 3, or if you add 1 and 7 together, that's 8. And then I also played like basketball and soccer, and my numbers tended to be 3, 11, 7, 1. So it was always like a combination of these numbers. And so it obviously get tied to my dad. And my mom is traditionally very religious. And so for her, she loved that, 3 and 7 are significant numbers in the Bible.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize this until later when I got older. But the area code for Indianapolis is actually 317. So when I moved to cars, usually you don't run 3 numbers. So we dropped the 1 and we stuck with 37.
Okay. Everybody, unless the series chooses your number, everybody has a story about their number.
Yes.
It's so cool. And you can never guess the story. A lot of times it's the girl's birthday. That's common, but I love that, you combined your dad's number and all the things. And what color is your car?
This year it is white, blue, and yellow.
Okay. All right. So where has your series started, and how have you done? And then what's next up for you?
Yes, series is well underway. We've had 2 races, 2 race weekends so far, 4 races. First one was at Sebring. We had a decent qualifying at Sebring, but unfortunately the brake pedal melted to my shoe in the first race. So that was a new one.
Wow.
And then the second race, another competitor was not looking far enough ahead on the first lap. So he broke way too late and took out me and 2 other cars. So we did not finish past lap 1. So then we went into Miami, which is traditionally a good track for me. I think I have my highest finish in the series there, which is 6th. So we went into the weekend hoping to be positive, and then we had a tricky qualifying because it was like partially damp because it had been raining on and off, so it was like dry damp. We had a red flag at the end, but we ended not too bad for qualifying. Like, we were pretty happy with the pace. But then in race number 1, we had, unfortunately, a car dive bombed us, and another car cut up across the track and bent my front tie rod. So that was a bummer. So we didn't finish that race either. So it's been an unusual start to the season. The second race, though, we did finish. We had really good race pace, and we finished just outside the top 10 and 11th.
Yeah. And so do you have just one car and they fixed that car before day 2, or do you have more than one car? Do you have a backup car?
No, just the one car.
And so there's a team that fixes that car for you after somebody wrecks you.
Yes. Yeah. I race for JDX Racing. They're based in Colorado. They're kind of owned and partially owned by a former race car driver, Jeremy Dale, who has done all of the amazing things, it seems like, in North America, and was a very successful driver himself until he had a pretty bad crash years ago. But now he runs and operates JDX Racing, which has been fantastic. I've just started racing with them this year. And yes, so they take good care of my car. My car chief, Cody, he takes great care of it. John also helps him on the car. And so they do a really good job at keeping it fast and ready to go.
Because that's such a challenge. I don't know if you follow NASCAR. That's what I really follow, number one, but I love it all. And, Ross Chastain wrecked his car. They spent all night fixing it, and he won the race. And he started at the back. And so that's an amazing story. So you have to give so much credit to these pit guys and the mechanics and everybody, because, you just think you've spent all this time getting this car ready to go. Mm-hmm. And you get there and somebody dive bombs you. And then it's like, now what? And then they just go to work and they get it done. It's amazing.
It is absolutely incredible. I think they don't get enough recognition for what they do. It is a hard job. Being a mechanic in motorsports and being an engineer, I mean, the mechanics are just, it's so hard on your body. It's grueling hours. It's, not very much sleep and really hard working conditions. But they love it, and they do an absolutely amazing job at it. And the best thing you can do for your crew is go out and do a great job and give them a great result to say thank you. And, the engineers are there behind the scenes, like making sure your car is always going fast and using all their brain power, and also running off just, I feel like, straight caffeine most of the time.
Yeah.
So it's not easy hours. And I think a lot of people, they love the fantasy or the idea of, I want to work in motorsports and work on race cars. But what they don't understand is motorsports is more of a lifestyle rather than just a job. And if you really want to make it and do a good job at it, I mean, it is day in and day out, crazy hours, and it is your life.
Well, and the weather, it could be cold, it could be 100 degrees. It's hard to say. And, you just have to put that out of your mind and keep working. And it is a hard job. And, I know some gals that are pit crew members, tire specialists, different things. And I know what they go through, and it's hard. It's very hard. And so, we should give them a lot more attention and thanks than what they probably get. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. So what has been your favorite track that you've been to, or do you have one you're just really looking forward to going to?
Oh, my favorite tracks would be Spa and Brands Hatch GP circuit. Those are probably my favorite two that I have raced on.
Okay.
But as far as favorite track this year that we're going to, I actually like the Miami track. It's not too bad.
Okay.
But I do enjoy, it's tough. Road America is great.
I love Road America.
I haven't raced at Road Atlanta that much, and I really like it. It's quite tricky. So I'm looking forward to going back there. But I really enjoy COTA. It can be pretty fun.
Okay. I love Road America. I have been there, and it's just beautiful, and it's so fun. Such a fun track to watch from. But that's cool.
I feel like Road America is such a good experience for the fans. Like, it's such a nice atmosphere, and
it is
the old, the little downtown, and it's really great.
It is, for sure. So what was the hardest thing for you to kind of master or learn? You did so many different kinds of cars, karts. What is something that you just really struggled to master, and now you look back or maybe you're still trying to master? I don't know. I don't think so, but what was that?
You're always still trying to master something.
Well, sure.
It's a never-ending chase.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would say the hardest thing when you transition from go-karts to cars is getting used to trusting the weight transfer. Because with a go-kart, you don't really have suspension travel. There isn't any. So getting used to that feeling, I think, just trusting how far the car can go and feeling the tire grip through that is always something that someone comes from karting, they have to overcome. But one of the main things, and that is definitely challenging and still is challenging to this day, is being adaptive on your brake shapes. So because in go-karts, we don't have to brake as near as hard as we do in a car. So getting used to how hard you have to brake, and then how much tiny different modulations off the brake pedal makes such a massive difference, and how that controls, the balance of the car. And like the whole first part of the corner is, that's the hardest part, right? Anybody, once you make it through, anybody can put their foot down and open the steering wheel and go fast on the exit. But it's that first entry into the corner that's what separates an amazing driver from just an average one. So that, I would say, is still, that's always going to be the most challenging part.
Yeah. And even for, experienced drivers that have done it a long time, it still has to be, because every track is different, and it still has to be sometimes a challenge, I'm sure.
And every lap is different. Every track's different. Every lap, every car. You're always dealing with you're never driving the same thing twice.
No. And for a personality like me, I want to know the plan. And so that wouldn't work for me, Sabre. I wouldn't, I don't think I do very well.
Well,
Oh,
that's
dear.
okay. That's fine. Not everybody is supposed to be like that.
No, some people are meant to do the interviews, and some people are meant to drive. That's for sure. So, how do you stay like in the winter when you're not racing? What do you do to like stay like up on your game, stay healthy? What's that kind of look like?
Well, so I guess it's not a ton different than all like when we're going all year round because motorsports doesn't have that much of an off season.
Okay.
So in general, I would say the trend and like the regular schedule we keep is we train 6 days a week in the gym. Like so, normally I'll train in the morning at Pit Fit. It's a driver training gym in Indianapolis. So you'll train 7 to 9 in the gym, and then you have sim training online that will be, you know, an hour at least with your team, or I'll train with iZone. And then either you continue to do that for like another hour on your own doing drills. And then after that, it's honestly, most of the day is filled with stuff like this, media, and working on sponsorships, meeting with your partners, working on deliverables, working on, you know, social media is also part of it, as well as then I'll coach or I'll work as an engineer. That stuff happens as well. But on the off season, you try to find any chance you can to get in a race car to stay sharp. But obviously it doesn't always happen. Sometimes it can be tricky, and driving race cars and getting seat time can be expensive. So you try to take as many opportunities as you can to do that. And also during the wintertime, something that's really cool though is if you get to go do like ice training. So driving on frozen lakes, frozen rivers, and working on your car control skills during the wintertime is something that's pretty fun.
That sounds kind of fun. Now it's not always that cold in Indy. So where do you go for that kind of training?
So I had an engineer a couple of years ago, and he is a former Dutch and European rally champion. So super cool guy, very talented. And he has a school in Norway that's actually incredibly affordable. So it's actually cheaper to go there and do the training than it is to stay in the US.
I believe it. I believe it.
So it's a really fun experience, and you get to go see part of the world that otherwise you wouldn't get to.
Yeah, for sure. Now, back when you did the W Series, you were out of the country for all of that pretty much, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you got to see some other lands and some other tracks.
Yes. Oh, we did have one US race though in the last year I raced W Series. So we did come to the US once. So that was nice. But otherwise, all in Europe. We were going to race in Mexico and in Asia, and once in Russia, but the races got canceled. So that didn't end up happening. But yeah, I got to see lots of really amazing historic tracks in Europe. So I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. Are most of those gals still racing? Do you know?
I would say the majority, yes, the majority are still racing. Some have taken a step back, either to pursue maybe like a different career, or they are full-time moms. So it really depends. But the majority that I can think of, they're all still racing.
Yeah. It's hard to give that up, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, for sure. So let's say that a mom or dad comes up to you at a race and says, Sabre, my little girl wants to be just like you. How does she get started? Should she get involved in racing? What's your response?
I would say it varies depending on what their ultimate goal is. But karting is always going to be my initial response, because I think it's such a great starting point for so many things. Even if you want to go into NASCAR, you want to go into IndyCar, or you want to go to Formula One, like I think starting in karting is a great ground to see what kind of racing you like to do. It's a really great ground to build your racecraft and just your awareness of how things kind of go throughout a race and a race weekend. So there's so much that you get to learn from those grassroots karting days. So I would say definitely starting there is a good place.
And you would encourage them to get involved in racing as a woman?
I mean, I've survived this long, so
That's true. And you're still very young, so you've got a lot of time left. What would be your ultimate goal?
ultimate goal. Well, if you asked me when I was a kid, the dream was IndyCar, but that takes a lot of money, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So now I'm like super excited and happy to be working more with Porsche and have the opportunity to race in Carrera Cup. And ideally, I would love to be able to build once I get some more really solid results in Carrera Cup, roll that into potentially being considered for a factory driver position, whether that's with Porsche or other manufacturers. That's the ultimate goal for now, like running 24 hours of Daytona, Le Mans, all that.
I would love to go to one of those races. Now, whether I could stay up all the time, but it's just not the same watching it on TV because it's too easy to get distracted. You know, and I think if you were at like Daytona for that, that'd be really cool. It's funny you mentioned that because I'm a huge podcast listener. And Dale Jr. was just talking last night about when he and his dad raced the 24 hours of, I think it was Daytona, and some of the funny things that happened. And it's crazy.
A lot can happen in 24 hours. Like,
yes, it can.
There's already enough that'll happen in a normal race length.
Right.
So then you add a whole day to it.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite memory or something that's happened? It could be good or bad, whatever. Something that you're like, oh, I'll never forget when I had a gal yesterday said I flipped my quarter midget 7 times. Ooh. So, that was not her. I mean, that was just a memory. She says, I'll never forget, Do you have a favorite memory?
There are so many. I feel like it's hard to just pick one. Mm-hmm. Oh, I would say, I feel like some of my favorite memories are in this, the small moments that you don't realize until after when I was a kid and growing up karting. My dad and my uncles used to travel with my dad when he raced. And then it became quickly where they were, it was us and we would travel across the country and drive around the trailer and just all the funny stories that you get from road tripping, running out of gas, losing tires, like just funny, wild things. I think those, they definitely make you smile and you don't appreciate, I guess, what you have until afterwards. You're like, wow, those are such like special memories that not everybody gets to have. Yeah. I would say one that kind of, I feel like cemented and aligns a lot with like what my story tends to be is when I was 13, me and my dad was my mechanic, and we went to a race in Denver. It was actually the Tag World Championships, and it was my first time racing that big of a race. I was nervous. There's these factory drivers there with the big factory teams, and I'm like, oh man. And we originally started out the weekend. We were struggling, like the kart wasn't running very good, and a little down on myself, like, oh, maybe I just don't have the level of these guys. And my dad was working tirelessly to figure out what was wrong. And then he eventually ended up rebuilding the carburetor himself because we'd gotten a carb from like the factory team that was supposed to be super fast. And he was like, oh, I'm just going to put the old one back on and I'm going to rebuild it myself. And so me and my dad in this like literally just truck and trailer that was just his Chevy pickup truck and an unbranded trailer up there by ourselves against all these big teams. And we went out for qualifying because we finally changed the carburetor right before qualifying. And I went out and qualified first.
Wow.
Because it turns out like I just remember in the practice sessions, I was like trying so hard, and I just couldn't. I was like, man, I'm trying my hardest out here. Like, why am I not, beating these guys? And so then I went out for qualifying, and I didn't really have the expectation that we were going to qualify first.
Right.
But we put that new carburetor on, and the kart finally ran. And I qualified first, and then I won every single heat race and won the final, I think, by like 10 seconds. And it was just, I think, it was such a cool story because, it was me and my dad against the world kind of thing. You're down and out and you're frustrated and you're going through challenges but together, and my dad just kept encouraging me and then once we qualified on pole, just kept our heads forward and it became a really magical weekend and then after I won the race, I remember crossing the finish line and it almost was like time slowed down a little bit just because I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was like, yep, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. This is it.
Yeah. That's a really, really cool story. And, your dad has to have the same feeling about that story. What a great time for you and your dad to have together. And you're never going to forget that. Yeah. That's what I love about racing is, not necessarily that you won that day, which I'm so thrilled that you did, but it's the relationships. It's the moments that happen. And, we don't know how long racing's going to be here for any of us.
Yeah.
But the things that we've done and the memories we've made, nobody can take away from us. And especially the friendships, I've met and made friends with so many people that I would have never even ever met or even known they existed. And to me, it's just what blesses me every single day, that I get to know these people and I get to follow you in your racing. And then you feel like you're a part of it, when I've talked to you and I've met you and then I can follow what you're doing. It feels like you're a part of that team, even if you're miles and miles away. And that's the best part for me.
No, I love that. You said that so beautifully. That it really is the memories. Yeah. Like, yes, everybody wants to win, everybody this or that, but it aligns with the stereotypical saying that people don't remember, what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And
Maya Angelou,
you feel so many different emotions and there's always great stories around it. Yeah.
There's so many great stories. So if somebody wants to follow you on social media, is it your name? Is it the JDX Racing? How would they follow you and keep track of where you're going to be and what you're up to?
So if you want to follow me, you can go to sabrecookracing.com. It's SABRECOOK racing.com. And from there, you can find anything and everything you need to know. There's all the media, all the links to my schedules, links to watch the races, links to all of my social media, you name it. It's all on there.
Okay. And who takes care of that?
The website. So
that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. So I used to do it a lot on my own, but thankfully now I have RTD Media, and they update. I'll send them the updates that need to get pushed out on my website. And I have a really great website developer who's actually one of my friends from college.
Yeah.
He ended up coding the website for me. So he will help push updates as well as needed. So it is a full-time gig. There's lots going on.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. And so I hope, and I know you do appreciate those people because we don't think it does because we're just posting on our own here at home. But when you have to take care of a website for somebody that's got a brand and doing what you're doing, it's a big deal. So
it's a lot of work, and I'm so grateful now that I'm starting to build a bigger team around me that can start to take a lot of those things off my plate, because it is hard to be focused on going fast and then trying to do everything else as a business.
Yeah, you have to focus on what you need to be doing and let everybody else take care of the rest.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sabre, I love having you on the show. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that I just blatantly missed asking you about?
I don't think so. I think you covered pretty much all of it. I mean, I hope that that you and anybody else listening definitely stop by at the racetrack. If you are at a race that I'm at, I would love to connect and meet anybody. And hopefully, I'll see you guys either at the track or at an event that we're doing. So
yeah, I'm sure I'll see probably Women with Drive again. We both love those events. Those are amazing, and you're usually there. I'm usually there, and so that's a great time to catch up. But hopefully, I'll be at a race, and that'll be even better.
Yes, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So, well, thanks a lot again. And if you want to hold on just a second, I'll finish the recording.
Okay.
If you're looking to buy, sell, or trade the stuff that strokes your engine, anything from truck parts to classic and muscle cars, RVs to hot rods, and everything in between, then check out our official classifieds at racingjunk.com. Racingjunk.com is the world's #1 online racing and performance marketplace, the ultimate one-stop shop where you'll find what you need to rock your ride. If it belongs in your garage, it's for sale on racingjunk.com. Log on to racingjunk.com to find the gear you're looking for, sell your extra stuff, keep up on racing news and tech tips, and more. Again, that's racingjunk.com. That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.